Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us, along with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome.
Thank you.
We've got a lot to talk about. The August 6th meeting was one of the longest I can remember for quite some time in Maple Grove. Over 3 hours of a meeting, and you knew it was coming, right?
We did.
So everyone was warned.
We did.
Then on top of that, National Night Out was the next night. So we're keeping Heidi awake here to help us through the program. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's jump right to it. Nothing off consent from the meeting on the 6th to touch on, but we do want to hop right to the first very special item, oath of office for a new police canine dog, Kalo. Tell us about Kalo's journey and this great accomplishment.
Yeah, so fun night on Monday night too. We brought Kalo in and Officer Stewart to swear in our canine officer, Kalo. This is the first canine. We had canine about 20 years ago, and the program was disbanded, and now have brought it back. And so this is our first canine officer in quite some time. Kalo graduated from training school back at the end of May, and so has been with the department now since May, just kind of getting acquainted with the other officers and the facility and whatnot, and getting her deployed out there, or him deployed out there. So this swearing in was just a really fun event. Channel 9 was there to cover it, and we have some great footage from you all as well. And so Kayla barked when she was done.
Of course, why not?
Yeah, it was great. So really exciting night for the department. Great turnout from the department as well. They're very appreciative of the council's support to bring back this program. It's really important for the community. So kind of a monumental evening for the city.
And Kayla was a big part of National Night Out. The next night, we'll tell you about that in just a few minutes here. Let's move on the council agenda. Another item under special business was a visit by MnDOT.
Yes.
And this happens to do with I-94.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here? What was the update, and what did the council then respond to?
Yeah, so MnDOT is planning to do what's called an unbonded overlay project that will really extend from the Fish Lake split in Maple Grove all the way to Rogers, to 101 in Rogers. It's kind of a pavement maintenance project where they'll be replacing much of the pavement structure out there. But they're also, while they're out there in the corridor, the Brockton interchange will be constructed just kind of right at the northern border of Maple Grove and Dayton. That's a project that gained some funding through the Met Council process as well as through this last legislative session. So Brockton will get constructed as part of this. And then some additional auxiliary lanes will be added, you know, at the pinch point up there with 610. An additional lane will be added. At this point, they're looking at between 610 and Brockton. We have encouraged them to take that all the way to Rogers. Otherwise, we feel like we're just kind of moving the bubble one piece at a time and not really addressing the long-term issue of needing additional capacity in the corridor. We would have liked to have seen improvements really from Fish Lake all the way through to Rogers. You know, that merge point as you're westbound 94 coming through where 494 and 694 merge there at Fish Lake. Gets to be a tough point where we're going from 4 lanes to 3, and there's not a lot of merge room there. So we would really love to see that issue addressed. A very costly project. I think back in 2002 when they looked at, you know, doing the Fish Lake split project was about $150 million. So we understand, of course, the concerns with that project. Additionally, we really tried to push on MnDOT to get them to do the 610 completion at the same time, get in the corridor, get the project done, and get out of the corridor, and you know, couple that inconvenience for the public all at one time. At this point, the 610 completion project isn't included in this unbonded overlay. We continue to push on that issue, and the council voiced those concerns to MnDOT on Monday evening. And right now, they're kind of in the project scoping process. Our staff is involved with that work. So we'll continue to push on these issues and encourage, you know, what we're really trying to see is the best improvement possible with this effort to improve conditions out on the corridor. So yet to, you know, more to come. MnDOT has to come back to the cities, so Maple Grove, Dayton, and Rogers for municipal consent. So we have to sort of agree to the scoping of the project and how it will be done. So a few more steps here on this one, but I think those are the issues on the table right now for the city.
Any idea as far as the timing then? Did they talk about when it might occur?
Sure. Yeah, so 2020 is the anticipated construction time frame. In 2019, probably the late summer, fall, they would be constructing some crossovers in the medians. So you would see some work being done done out there, but that would be really in preparation for the 2020 construction season. And this is going to be a tough project, about 2 years of construction impact out there. So, you know, the piece that happens for us in Maple Grove, of course, is the impact to our local, you know, the hemlocks and we, you know, the side roads that people hop off when things aren't going so well out on the corridor. They do intend to maintain traffic, but of course, you know, that's a little bit of a bob and weave, and the lanes get a little bit narrower. And so, you know, we do see those impacts to the county and our local streets during those times.
Right. All right. Well, consider this the first warning then of what might be to come as we get a little closer to that. There was a public hearing about a restaurant coming to town, and this was a liquor license. Tell us about Lotus.
Yeah, Lotus Maple Grove. So this is a restaurant that has had locations in Minneapolis, pretty popular Vietnamese Asian fusion restaurant. They were in front of us for a beer and wine license. So I think they're planning to get open this weekend. They've been doing kind of a soft opening just to try things out. But they are in the strip mall location, kind of where Dairy Queen is, kind of the other end. I think Chin Yen used to be there. So they're moving into that space, so that was a nice fit for them. But a lot of excitement about them coming. They have a really good reputation down in Minneapolis.
Very good.
Yep.
Welcome to town. Another talk about business is some loan fund policy updates, and this is a revolving fund, and Carrie was up talking a little bit about this. Again, a way to help out businesses in the community. Give us a little background on this.
Yeah, so this is another tool in our economic development toolbox, something we've been working on for some time. So the city has funds that are available to loan out to businesses. We call it the Revolving Loan Fund. The notion where it comes from, the Revolving Loan Fund, is that when businesses go through a process at deed to get funding from a Minnesota Investment Fund, oftentimes a portion of that loan, when it's paid back, is dedicated to come back to the city to provide seed money for a local revolving loan fund. So we have some of those dollars that have come from those projects in the past. To date, we haven't revolved that money out to the community, so this was an effort to update our policy, make it consistent with our public subsidy policy that was updated about a year ago or so, kind of make the principles the same. We're really focused on providing this type of a loan support for really industry, for business in town. Good job creation goals are included with this, and this tends to be kind of the last money in piece, kind of some gap financing, smaller amounts, can be used for equipment, those kinds of things. So this is just another opportunity for us to provide this funding source to businesses that are looking for expansion or just improvements in their operations. So we updated the policy and then put in place a management agreement with Central Minnesota Development Corporation. So CMDC is a nonprofit organization. They do SBA loan administration, and they do revolving loan fund administration for a number of cities around the metro area. They have a great reputation of doing this type of work. So they provide all the underwriting services for any loan that we might do, and then loan service administration, and really all the costs of the work that they would do with us gets passed through via the loan process. So good to have this tool in place, and now we'll be working on getting that information out to the business community. And when we have a business come to town, maybe a new business or somebody that's coming to look to us for expansion purposes, this is an opportunity we can put on the table for them here locally.
Very good. Next item from the council meeting on August 6th was Fernbrook Fields, and people have seen some dirt moving out there. This is an exciting time for the city. Tell us where we are in the construction process, and also some of the discussion at the council to do with some structures.
Yeah, so this project sits just south of 610 along 99th, west of Fernbrook, kind of across the street from the high school, just north of the stadium, so right in that kind of pocket there. We have been working on moving, if you'd been by that site, you noticed it was kind of a pitched hill there, a little bit of a peak to that site. We had plans to cut that down and had made an agreement with Hy-Vee, which will be across the street to the north and west, to take some of that soil. They needed soil, we had soil to give, and much better economically to move it a very short distance and not have to pay to get rid of it, you know, versus hauling it off the site and finding another solution. So part of our agreement, the development agreement with Hy-Vee for their northwest site, was to for them to take soil from that site. So we initiated initiated a contract early on, and well, this work started early, probably mid-June, to start to move that soil. About a 6 to 8 week process to move about 100,000 cubic yards off that site. If you drive by today, you can start to see that that site's really being cut down, and a pile is being established over on the Hy-Vee site. So that's kind of the first phase of the work, just to get that site down to a grade that we felt. The goal was to make it a little bit more match the grade with the stadium, so that that site kind of flowed together there. So, so that work is underway. The next piece of the work, we get bids in on the next phase of the work at the end of this week, which will be kind of complete a lot of that grading work, the utilities. There's some roads that are going to be constructed associated with this to connect both Fernbrook Elementary, the stadium site, and then to serve this new facility. And the new facility really is 4 turf fields that'll be constructed there for sports use, and so it serves the associations that are involved with this project are Maplebrook Soccer, Maple Grove Football, and Maple Grove Lacrosse. So each of them, similar to other projects that have been completed in Maple Grove, they make a capital contribution to the project, and then they have ongoing use of that facility. School district's also a partner, financial partner in this project, and then we also received Hennepin County Youth Sports Grant dollars in support of this project. So probably about 5, 6 different partners involved with this project that will serve all of these entities for the long run. But what was in front of the council on Monday night really dealt with kind of the buildings, the facility buildings, as well as the plaza area. Our base budget for the project had kind of included a kind of a baseline building, and we had further discussion about creating a bit more of a plaza space. I think, you know, if you look at these larger tournament type facilities, a lot of times there are more kind of plaza gathering spaces, also opportunities to get out of the sun, so shade structures, those kinds of things. So that was what was in front of the council on Monday night, and they took a look at the design for kind of an upgraded building, and there was support to move in that direction. Adds about $1.3 million in cost to that, which will get, you know, divvied out to the partners here. And so moving forward with that, and those bids will go out here in the next few weeks for that part of the project. And we still are targeting about a July 2019 opening for this facility, so it will see some play next summer and into the fall. And you know, that's really one of the benefits of this type of an artificial turf facility, is that you get the benefit of the shoulder season. So really, you know, play can start in earnest, you know, depending on how the spring goes. You know, March, April, all the way, you know, October to November. So you really get the length of the playing season there with this kind of facility. So very exciting to see this come on board, and a lot of progress will be seen between now and when the snow flies. All right, keep your eye on that site. Next site we go to, that was again under community development, was Park 81. We've talked about this quite a few times, off of Botno Boulevard, County 81, near Osseo. What is the latest news there? I see dirt moving and things moving around every day. Where are we now? Yeah, so this is the former Wells Concrete site there. The access really comes off of 89th Avenue there to the south side. On the north side is County Road 81. So Duke Realty is proposing to construct 3 kind of large, more industrial type buildings there. A little bit different than what they're doing down south at Aubrey Lakes Business Park, which has a much higher level finish, more office component to it. This is really kind of more that industrial, probably a little bit more truck intensive type use, but appropriate for that area.
Much
fits
of that
in.
Around that area.
Fits in there. So the first building they're going to build is about 300,000 square feet. It's on the east side of that site. As you mentioned, a lot of work, a lot of site work going on up there. That site had a lot of old concrete and rebar buried over the years of how that site was used. So nothing toxic or anything to clean up there, just a lot of kind of buried material. They're doing, you know, some of this material will be removed from the site. They're also doing a process called dynamic compaction. So if you're up there, you'll see them dropping a really big weight that kind of compacts the earth underneath and allows them to build foundations and move forward with, you know, building reuse of that site. So this was for the East Building PUD development stage plan and final plat. So that project will be allowed to go forward on the east side, and then they have 2 more buildings programmed as you move west, and they'll have to come back for development stage on those as well. So much of the discussion at the council level was around kind of traffic and circulation, how people will access the site, but we worked through those issues, and so this one will move forward. I think they'll probably get going here in the next few weeks.
Very good.
In for plans.
All right. Now, believe it or not, we get to the couple long items of the meeting after all of that. Again, a lot was discussed on August 6th. The first longer item was the shops at Arbor Lakes. And again, this is something we've talked about a few times. It has been before the council in different types of discussions. Give us an update on what the discussion was at the last meeting and what the final decision was.
Sure. So this was a concept plan amendment. So what they're doing is they're coming in and asking to make a change to what was previously their PUD agreement with the city on how that site was constructed. What they're proposing to do is kind of change that internal plaza area. You know, there's traffic and circulation and parking on either end, and then there's kind of that pedestrian mall in the middle. I think what they, you know, the concerns that they have, or the pains, I guess, that they're feeling in their business, is they have a pretty high vacancy rate in that center portion, and what they hear from the business community and from their retailers is that they really would like to see that area have, you know, vehicular circulation as well as parking, and maintain that nice pedestrian mall area, you know, at on the sidewalk sides or elements of that, but allow for that site to have some better access and exposure. I think, you know, this is probably a symptom of the changes that we're seeing in the retail market, and you know, I don't think there's going to be one thing that, you know, that saves or changes the world for retail. I think it's a number of things, you know, and so I think you can look at these types of changes where they're trying to improve access and flow and maybe make things a little bit more convenient for shoppers. I think that's going to be something. You know, the Portillo's example is trying to bring other uses to these centers, and what we see is a lot more, you know, food experiences and services as part of the retail landscape versus, you know, boutiques and clothing stores and shoe stores and that kind of a thing. And I think we'll continue to see that pressure on the retail market. So this, you know, and I think the council, a lot of concerns about letting go of this design element of that mall, because 20 years ago, this was what, you know, this was a key selling point of this mall, and kind of a really piece of pride for the community. So there's been concern about letting that go, and I think rightfully so. And I think, you know, the mall ownership is really trying to address those concerns and bring a design that helps address that, but also, you know, they're asking for that flexibility. So a lot more discussion on this. CBRE is the broker for that. They represent the ownership, which is Prudential Insurance, and so they brought in a number of folks from both here regionally in the Midwest, but also nationally, to talk about kind of what they're seeing in the retail market. And so what ended up happening, this is again concept design, so they'll have to come back for development stage where their plans would be more fully designed. But basically they got concept plan approval for what very limited components. So basically that it would be a through street and that it would allow parking, but that the council really reserves the right on the design elements and what that would look like and feel like. You know, the fountain piece was talked about a lot. There's, you know, a significant fountain out there, and there's pergolas with seating areas and those kinds of things. And so what gets retained and enhanced at that street edge, I think, is what remains to be seen in that next phase of the development plans. But yeah, so this one did move forward with that concept stage approval on a very limited basis, and more to come then about what that design truly looks like.
All right, we will keep you up to date when it does come back to the council for the next step of the process. The next item under community development, to keep going with some big items, was Hy-Vee in the south. And this was very good news, something the council was hoping to hear for quite some time. Share the big news with us.
Yeah, so this is the 101 Bass Lake Road store. They're at the southeast corner of that intersection. As many know, Hy-Vee gained approval for that site probably a couple years ago, and then it sat and not much happened, and Hy-Vee was kind of rechecking their movement into this market and how fast that was going to happen. We had continued our connection and discussions with Hy-Vee. As I mentioned previously, a lot of work being done up on that north site with that soil movement. And we had continued to talk with them as, articles appeared in the newspaper about, what was happening in the grocery market, and even recently with the super value acquisition, a lot of moving pieces there in that market. But we're happy to say that they came back and said, we're ready to move on this 101 Bass Lake Road store there. They reduced the square footage of that store just a bit. Not much else changed about the site plan or the plat, so it was a pretty easy process in terms of bringing it through for reapproval. I think they've gained some efficiencies in their store design and how they deliver service there, so that's kind of reflected in that reduced square footage. So this was, I think all the council noted that they've never had a project where they received so much community support.
Right.
A couple concerns identified about lighting and traffic and setbacks and those kinds of things that you get with a commercial development, but a lot of community support for this project. So we, I believe, issued the grading permit on this one yesterday. They knew they were ready to go, and so they've been working at a staff level to try to get those things ready. Likely going to see some footings and foundations go in here in the next, they want to get going this fall.
Fantastic.
And potentially get vertical so that they can get buttoned up and be working on the inside this winter. So we're real excited to have this happen. I think we had a couple residents get up and talk about, they're living in a food desert out there. There's not a lot of availability for grocery out in that neck of the woods. So I think this will be great for that neighborhood. And I do think we're going to see more development pop up out there on those four corners. We know there's been some commercial, they have outlots associated with that Hy-Vee development. We know that there's been interest in those, but a lot of it was dependent on Hy-Vee moving, just to get the infrastructure in and to be able to serve that site, because a lot of it flowed through there. So I think what more is to come there with Hy-Vee taking the lead.
Very good.
Yep.
And just to clarify, we've mentioned the north side a couple times again with some dirt being moved over there. But as far as plans to build the north site, just give us an update on that so people are now aware of what's happening both ends of town.
Yeah, we don't. They haven't indicated to us that they're ready to move on that north site yet. Their plans are still good. They wouldn't have to come back to us. They could come in tomorrow and say we're ready to go. But we don't have any indication of that as of yet.
All right, very good. So good news, and it was good for the council and Heidi to have that information to go to National Night Out, which we'll talk about in a minute. So it was a good message to send. Let's talk about ZOTA. This is height and size limits of accessory structures. Give us a little background as well. This comes off of something that was discussed at the council maybe a couple months ago, I believe.
Sure. Yep. So this is a zoning text amendment. So the request came forward to build, it was a variance request to build a bit more larger size accessory structure on a larger lot, kind of in the north end of the city. And our zoning code had pretty restrictive allowances for an accessory structure. So the request was made, and there was support to look at this and maybe give a little bit more flexibility based on lot size. So as the lot size goes up, you have a little bit more room on accessory structure size and height. So this was that zoning text amendment coming through based on that request.
So something that might affect homeowners too. So if you have questions, you can certainly contact the city about that. So that was the bulk of the agenda. A few other items from staff, from Ken Ashfield in Public Works and Engineering. He mentioned 610 once again, and this is a little cleanup work. What's happening there? Yeah,
so they're moving forward with their landscaping project. I saw they're out there, went through the corridor yesterday, and they're out there working. So I think they try to come back about a year and a half or so later after the project's completed, or that phase was completed, I should say. And then they get after that landscaping component and kind of clean up the right of way. So they're moving forward with that.
One other transportation note, you might have noticed County 30 is having a little fun done to it. What's happening there? How long will this take?
Yeah, mill and overlay kind of starting at 94 there, County Road 30 out to the Maple Grove border. So, and then actually it goes back a little bit to the east too, because I drove through there yesterday. So yeah, little mill and overlay work on County Road 30 in northwestern Maple Grove.
Watch for the orange barrels. Just take your time through there.
Yes.
A few other items from Heidi related to the last meeting was budget update and HR director updates. Tell us about some dates coming up on your calendar and the council's calendar.
Yeah, so first look at the 2019 proposed budget will be on the August 20th. We'll have a workshop prior to the council meeting that night to sit with the council and kind of walk through where we see the budget coming in and what our proposals are. In addition, on August 23rd, we're going to be doing interviews with the council for HR director position. We have 4 finalist candidates, and so we're looking forward to getting through the rest of that process.
All right, so there is your 3-hour and 15-minute meeting in about 25 minutes worth of time. So we're going to hustle through a couple other items here because a lot of other things happening around town. We wanted to give folks a little election update. So we've got primary date coming up. You've got absentees happening here, and also the general election. Give us a quick overview what we need to know about the elections.
Primary next Tuesday, August 14th. All the polls will be open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. that day. If you wish to absentee vote prior to the primary, you can do so at the Government Center during business hours. It's on the 2nd floor. We have staff there ready to help you. Filing for City Council, for Mayor and City Council, goes through August 14th at 5 p.m. You can stop in and get a packet of information to take care of that filing as well. Preparing for the general election, absentee will be down in the EOC at the Government Center, and same parameters. It'll start about, I think it's about 45 days in advance of the election. Absentee starts, and then we'll lead into the general election in November.
Very good. You may have heard a little extra talk about chicken in the city of Maple Grove here recently. Why are we talking chicken?
So Raising Cane's celebrated their their grand opening yesterday, and I was by there late yesterday afternoon, and the drive-through line was long. We got some additional patrol up there. They've hired some additional police support just to make sure traffic works out okay there, but I think they'll have a little bit of this crazy traffic situation for a little bit.
I can imagine. Blood drive coming up in the city. Give us some details of where people can go.
August 14th, this Friday from 8 to 11. The Bloodmobile will be out front of the Government Center, and so if you're interested, you can go online to it's Memorial Blood Centers and pick our location.
People might have been following or participating in the photo contest, and that's starting to wrap up now. Tell us about the numbers. This is fantastic.
We had 329 photos submitted with 77 photographers participating, and then we had over 4,000 votes cast on our online Viewers' Choice entry. So in September, Carol will be bringing those forward for recognition to the council.
All right, kids, get ready for this. We're going to talk a couple things about kind of back to school and that time of the year. First, the fun part of it, the state fair, and you're getting ready with bus service. We are. So we do the weekend bus service Saturday, Sunday, and then of course on Labor Day from the Maple Grove Transit Station there at Arbor Lakes. $5 round trip fare, so great way to get to the fair, really convenient. Buses operate every 30 minutes from 8 a.m. to midnight. Parking is free, but we don't allow overnight parking from 2 to 4 a.m. Really like to clear that ramp overnight. Children aged 4 and under ride free, and then we drop you off right at that great new bus hub kind of on the west side of the fair there. It's really wonderful and convenient. So encourage people to take advantage of this service. Great way to go. I'll jump down to the fashion show, the other thing related to back to school. They've got a fashion show that happens each year. When is this? How can people get involved? So Wednesday, August 15th at 6:30 p.m., $5 at the door. New location this year, it's at the Pheno Pavilion at Central Park, and this is hosted by Parks and Recreation and the shops at Arbor Lakes. So this is a really fun event for young kids to get involved with. All right, let's hop back to the Zero Waste Challenge to let people know, not just Maple Grove, but all of Hennepin County. This is something that is in front of us right now. What is it? How can people participate? Yeah, so Hennepin County is looking for 50 households to participate in an 8-month-long challenge. And so the county will provide some assistance and support to this, but they'll identify low-waste lifestyle changes that you could make to how you manage your household and track that progress by reporting the amount of recycling and trash that's generated in their homes. Challenge runs from September 10th to April 30th, so pretty good period of time. And interested households can do an online application by August 19th, and it's on the Hennepin County website, the Zero Waste Challenge. So this kind of gets after that whole recycling and organic piece of the program as well. Excellent. Final minute or so here, mention that the farmers market continues to go strong. This is National Farmers Market Week from the 5th to 11th of August, so get out and enjoy the market. And we've mentioned a few times National Night Out. Give us a recap. Beautiful night. Beautiful night. You were busy. We were. We had about 192 parties. So congrats to Todd Strigi
Heidi and all the efforts of the police department, this is just a wonderful night to get out and visit with all of our neighborhoods. I had an opportunity to get out with one of our sergeants, John Wetternock, and Representative Dennis Smith. We visited 4 parties ourselves, and a lot of great conversation and visiting, and you know, concerns raised and questions asked and hopefully answered at those meetings. So great event. And then we had the nice turnout during the day. Yeah. We had Senator Amy Klobuchar came to the picnic during the day, and then Congressman Eric Paulson was with us during the evening as well. Nice. So we had some of our federal folks on hand. So excellent. Yeah, always a great event.
Congratulations to all the residents that put on their parties. Heidi, thank you very much for your time here. Again, a lot going on in the city of Maple Grove. Leave you real quickly with the next council meeting date. It is on August 20th. That's all for the Maple Grove City Report. Thanks for joining us.